Hello and welcome to bex-treks. I'm Bex, and on the previous video we had a look at this pack here. It's the Karrimor Munro 65. On this video I'm going to tell you what it's actually like to carry and the components that are in here. On that last video I did say it's not a tent and it's not a hammock. So what is it that I carry in here? Well, I actually carry my bivvy setup in here, and it's a bivvy roll, so it's full roll slotted in with cook set, food and clothing down side of it. But it's going to be far easier to explain once I unpack everything and lay it all out here. So let's crack on with that. My rain pants are insulated. They go on the corseted elastic on the front, and although it does have a separation between top and base, which we'll obviously talk about on a different video, I don't need it because what I have in here is a bivvy system. First of all, reach in on the side, pull out a bag. Now at the moment that is empty, and that is food would be in there, maybe just one night's food would be adequate in there. A sock, which is my hot water bottle cover, hot water bottle, stainless steel Nalgene, that will have a litre in, it hasn't at the moment, and I do carry them in the bellows pockets. It just works out a little better for me. Inside I can loosen off them straps and bring out my cook pot. Mine is the jet boil and my jet boil bag there, just because in here I can actually put not just freeze dried food but boil in the bag food. And remember, a smaller 500ml or 750 doesn't really do very much for aiding the warming up of boil in the bag, but these however do. Quite light, really light. That is stove and gas in there, and mine is on a shoulder strap. It doesn't have to be. But in mine here I carry a bedroll, plenty of room down the bottom for socks, underwear and a spare jumper if it gets any colder than it is now and I want to put something under my jacket. And it does have space for that jacket as well. And here is my entire bedroll system. Not featured are ablutions and illumination and repair kits, fire making kits, which would be stowed in this pocket under the lid. Outside, because I only have a bedroll system in the bivvy, if it does rain, now usually an umbrella will do me just for what I need to do, but some people don't understand bivvy camping, so I'm going to put in a very small lightweight DD super light there, and there's about 4 or 6 anchors here which are the groundhogs like that, so I can erect a shelter over my bivvy. I also have things like my water, not featured, on a net there, or best still in the bellows pockets, and you can see how basic my setup is. Now this setup here is what I'm calling a skeleton setup, because I'm not showing things like what torch I use and the batteries for it, my wash kit, my meds kit, my fire making kit thing. I'm going to lay it out. You're going to see how few components there are if you make a skeleton kit. And I do like the bivvy over instead of a tent, because once you get up into the mountains it is a nightmare to get a tent pitched. It really is. We're on all shapes like that as we're a bivvy, provided I can lie down. I've got my sleep for the night. Let's have a look at these components and the pack. Waterproofs, is one component. Dual function there, the Nalgene. It is both my hot water bottle and my water carry. Optional for some. A tarp, food, and there's the jet boil and the pack itself there. So I don't have many individual components. This is just your skeleton kit. But when I want to sleep, all I do, there you go, just kick it out like this, and I can get in even if it's raining. I can still blow up the pad on the inside even when I'm inside. All I do is lie on my belly on the pad, put breaths in, and I am out the rain while I set up, and don't need really a tarp above me, because this is a hood, all the pegs and a hoop for it down the bottom there. Is my Gram Expert top quilt, and that is wrapped underneath a self-inflating foam pad there. In this case, this is the Vango, and that's about it really. And I always think, why separate your knife, fork and spoon? Because they all function to do the same thing. I never separate my pad from a quilt from the bivvy. I don't see a requirement to. I do get disturbed in the night and want to get away quickly. Although I can peg this out, it doesn't have to be pegged out. I can use it without the hoop, and rather than stuffing it away into 3 different stuff sacks, which would be one for the top quilt, one for the pad, one for the bivvy, this is all it is, a roll. In the British Army, you'd actually stuff everything down the bottom, but I prefer a roll system, just because look how quick it can be retracted and put back into your pack. Again, plenty of room down here for some clothing, but I do have the jet boil, which sits right down the bottom for me. Doesn't have to, you can put it wherever you want, use whatever stove you want. And then another reason I don't always use a tarp, especially when I have a bivvy, is that it does require a little more time to pack away. My hot water bottle come day water, so night and day. That is both a hot water bottle at night. Water bottles I tend to keep in the bellows pocket. It's a lot easier to carry things in my bellows pocket than it is the mesh down there, so I freed up room on the mesh. And that is pretty much everything. Things like my head torch, the batteries for it, navigation and everything else are just stowed in the other pockets and always packed. I don't leave them out at night, just in case I need to evacuate quickly, which on one camp I did. Cattle rustlers about, they didn't see me, but I was no more than about 20 metres from them, and it wasn't even a setup, it was a tent. Had they have shone the torch over 90 degrees to their right, they would have seen me. Waterproofs for me, I put in the corset on the back like that. Obviously do it neater than I am, but that's pretty much me done. What is it like to carry? A lot of packs I find, unless you have substantial hips, just for me, slide all the way down, especially in a slick jacket like this, even with your hip belt over your iliac crest. So your hip bone, in other words, rather than sitting around your hip bone, you know, where your hip bone is level with the top of the pad, I do carry it a little higher, just so this hip pad kind of arcs its way over a little. So for comfort, I'm going to say this isn't quite as comfortable as my much cheaper high gear pack, which is amazingly comfortable, but I'm going to say the durability is not on par with something as good as this. But until next time, take care of yourself and I'll see you out there. Happy trails.